that we are all good with our audio and our video. It looks like we are. And we're going to try to start as promptly as possible because I want to respect everyone's time. So I'll probably start at 6:01. And then people can just kind of come in as they come in. And grab a water and I'll be right back.
I just want to say hi, ladies. I'm excited about being on this call. I take care of my mom who has severe Alzheimer's and my husband who has early onset dementia.
Oh, wow. Hi, thank you so much, Miss Jenkins, for being here. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, how's everybody?
Hello.
Hello. Great, how are you?
I'm here, live color, live person, and in Technicolor.
All right. We love it.
Yeah, we do.
Hey, Ron, how are you?
I was on mute. How you doing, Lisa?
I'm doing well. Good to see you. Good to see
Same
you.
here. Same here.
Hey, Mr. Taylor, how are you? So good you are here with us.
Hey, thank you so much, Commissioner Bell. How are you doing?
Great. I'm great. Thank you for coming on. And this is going to be a very great conversation. So much information. I don't know. We may have to do a part 1 and part 2. I know you're going to have so much great information to share with us, but I'm just so glad that all of you agreed to do this. So it is 6:01. Hold on. Let me, I was going to start 6:01, right? So let me close the door and give me 30 seconds. And we all right. Good evening, everyone. How are you today? I am Alisha Bell, Chair of the Wayne County Commission, and it is my pleasure to invite and thank all of you for joining us today in this town hall meeting to discuss Alzheimer, dementia, and the caregivers who provide so much care to the loved ones. This is such a timely topic because even though, of course, we are right.
You need to unmic. Great.
Even though we're right in the middle of the pandemic, there are still issues going on with all of our lives, and dealing with a loved one who has dementia and Alzheimer's can certainly be one of those issues. You know, over 16 million people in America are unpaid caregivers for their loved one with Alzheimer's or dementia. In Detroit, 13% of our population is over 65. In Wayne County, over 15% of our population is over 65. So that is potentially a large amount of persons who could need care in the area of Alzheimer's and dementia. And then you have those people who are in their 40s, 30s, sometimes 50s, who have young children to care for, and then they also are caring for their parent. And that's typically known as those persons in the sandwich generation, caring for people, the parents above them and the children below them. So there's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot of discussion, and I'm so glad that we have experts in this field to discuss this and provide resources for the caregivers who are doing this godly work. But before we get to them, I want to really talk about just senior services as a whole first. I'm so glad today that we have with us our Wayne County Senior Director. And at this time, I'm going to read a little information about her, and then I'm going to allow her to give us a few minutes about what services Wayne County Senior Division provides to the citizens of Wayne County. So, Lisa Whitmore Davis was appointed in 2019 by CEO Warren Evans as our Director of Senior Services for Wayne County. She is the first woman and the first person of color to hold this position. And I'm so glad that the Wayne County Commission unanimously approved her appointment. Ms. Whitmore Davis leads the Wayne County Senior Services Department for innovative healthy aging programs and culturally competent nutrition services for homebound older adults in Wayne County. Her professional career includes experiences in state and county government, higher education, and nonprofits such as Wayne County, Wayne State University, Focus, Hope, and the Michigan Senate, Office of the Wayne County Clerk, Kathy Garrett, and AARP. She worked for 10 years with AARP as the Associate State Director for Multicultural Outreach and Community Engagement. And we are so very happy that she accepted a position here in Wayne County to be our Senior Services Director. So at this time, I will turn it over to Ms. Lisa Whitmore Davis to talk about a little bit of the services that we provide to our Wayne County seniors. Lisa, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening to everyone. It truly is my honor and my pleasure to serve as Senior Services Director, and the Commission is a vital partner to our department, and we are working hard every day to ensure that CEO Evans' vision of making sure that all older adults in Wayne County are able to age with dignity and respect. So, Madam Chair, I will be brief, but I wanted to give you a quick overview for your listeners tonight on your town hall around what services are available at Wayne County and our Senior Services Department. First, I want to let you know how you can reach us. You can reach us at 800-851-1454. I will put that number in the chat as well. But the phone number to reach us is 800-851-1454. Our email is seniornutrition@waynecounty.com, seniornutrition@waynecounty.com. And we also have an opportunity if you want to enroll in our Meals on Wheels program, you can do so online, but we still have all pathways of communication for our Wayne County citizens by utilizing the phone, because all of us who are here to serve older adults know that we still need to maintain those traditional non-tech pathways for older adults to connect with us. But we are charged, our main charge is to provide liquid, home delivered and congregate meals, nutritional support for homebound Wayne County residents. And in addition to our traditional program, we are really proud that Wayne County has been a leader around multicultural aging issues with the halal Meals on Wheels program that we have for our Arab American elders. And it's culturally competent, and the volunteer base, they speak Arabic, as well as we have been able to, through the competitive process, employ a halal provider for those Meals on Wheels. In a week, Wayne County, we serve over 2,700 participants in 1 week. And we now, due to COVID, we no longer have the daily program where we now provide meals once a week, and those are delivered to the older adults' home, as well as those who participated in the congregate meal sites, they can have a drive-up option. We're really excited to announce here at your town hall that some of the advances that we're making to not go back to normal, but to have to provide more fresh food components to our older adults. So we will have now 2-day delivery, Monday and a Thursday. And on that Thursday, which I'm so excited about, we'll provide fresh milk, fresh vegetables, and fruit. But primarily, I think, in staying in germane to your topic, our Meals on Wheels service is a great caregiver resource. We provide nutritional support. Our program, as well as my colleague from Detroit Area Agency on Aging, who will be speaking as well this evening, together, we serve at Wayne County, we serve 34 communities of the 43, and my esteemed colleagues at Detroit Area Agency on Aging provide services to the remainder of the county. But I see that where we can be seen as a resource for caregivers. As a caregiver, a former caregiver, myself, having to provide a meal is one less thing that I can use that time and that energy for something else in order to care for my loved one, especially as older adults who may still be in the home and may have some dementia and early Alzheimer's symptoms, but still safe to be able to live at home. This is a resource that they can utilize, and anyone over the age of 60 is eligible for our Meals on Wheels program. Another aspect to our programs, we, due to COVID, we no longer are having the face-to-face resources, but we were bringing innovative programs to our various nutritional congregate meal sites. So we had to transition to a virtual platform, which sometimes leaves out a large swath of our audience, but we still are committed to doing that. And I'm really pleased that our colleagues at Detroit Area Agency on Aging were great partners in those endeavors. But again, our main resource, especially for a caregiver of someone who has dementia or Alzheimer's, we provide, you don't have to cook for five meals. Or even we have the opportunity to bring you weekend meals, so to cover the whole 7 days of a week. And we could not do what we do without the support of the commission and your support, and as well as, of course, the leadership of Mr. Evans. So I hope I stayed within my 3 minutes. And I again, thank you for the opportunity. Anytime that we can come before the larger audience to let them know how they can reach out and how Wayne County government can support them, we want to do that. And again, just verbally, for those who may view this at a later date, our phone number is 800-851-1454. Or our email is seniornutrition@waynecounty.com.
Very good. Thank you so much, Ms. Whitmore Davis. People may wonder, why you're here for Wayne County, then we have Mr. Taylor for the city of Detroit, but you've explained why, and that's because you all have 2 different service areas within Wayne County. Detroit Area Agency on Aging obviously services Detroit although the Grosse Points, if I'm not mistaken, Harper Woods, and I'm sure he'll get into that. And then Wayne County, we service the other communities. So that's why we have both of you here to talk about your programs. And I'm just so delighted that, again, that you chose to come and give your time and talent to Wayne County as our newest appointee director as senior services. We are so proud of the work that you're doing. And again, you put the information in the chat, and then you also verbalize your phone number and how people can get in contact with you if they live outside of the Detroit area and they need information about Meals on Wheels, Ecorse, Inkster, Romulus, Wayne, Wyandotte, Canton, all of the out county communities. So thank you so much. Hopefully, sorry.
Impressed that you could run them all off. I'm still memorizing all of them. That's great. But you would know. You would know. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And again, as I stated earlier, we have so much information. So Lisa's going to be here for a little while longer, and hopefully she'll still be here for Q&A at the end of the program. But right now, I'm going to run right into her partner in crime, Mr. Ronald Taylor, who is the president and CEO of the Detroit Area Agency on Aging. And let me just give a little information about Mr. Taylor. He is a servant leader who believes in meeting the highest priority needs of others. He sees the common good and works to serve it. He believes in developing the full potential of his employees, connecting them to a shared mission, and exceeding the expectations of those participating in the programs at the Detroit Area Agency on Aging. As president and CEO, he leads an agency of over 150 staff members with an operating budget of $73 million. It is one of the 16 area aging organizations in the state of Michigan, and it serves over 90,000 seniors, caregivers, and adults with disabilities annually, including the largest minority population of older adults, which of course is in the city of Detroit. He joined the organization in October of 2018, and we are just so delighted that he is at the helm of this very important organization serving the needs of our seniors. At this time, I will turn it over to Mr. Ronald Taylor.
And thank you so much, Chairwoman Bell, and just very appreciative and very thankful to be a part of today's very much needed conversation, especially around Alzheimer's and dementia. And when you got to speaking about the sandwich family and the individual caring for a parent and a child, and just the demands that it takes. And you also referenced the fact that it is it's an act of love. And I would say that when you get into caregiving, it's probably one of the greatest acts of love that you can demonstrate and you can show. And Ms. Whitmore Davis is a great colleague of mine, a friend, and someone in which we share stories and share strategies, and we try to work things out. So I'm delighted to share the stage with her, along with Dr. Duren, who is a good friend also, and quite an expert in this field, and the representative from AARP also. At the Detroit Area Agency on Aging, we like to call ourselves the senior solution. And when I say that is, you know, we try to address every issue or every need and most items that an older adult and or their family member may possibly encounter. And not to say that we get it right all the time or that it won't be because of a lack of trying, but we are truly your advocates, and we're going to truly be your servants in regards to trying to address your needs and your concerns and whatever the gaps may be in regards to the circumstances or situations in life that may be presented to themselves at this time, or to yourselves at this time. And we have been in existence since 1980. And so that's 40 years of service. A lot of you may know my predecessor, Paul Bridgewater. He was the executive director, the CEO for 38 years. And he built quite a agency and quite an infrastructure and a network of services in which we continue to provide to today. And we provide those services in 9 communities, as Commissioner Bell alluded to. And those 9 communities are, with Detroit being the seat and the largest community, We also service Hamtramck, Highland Park, Harper Woods, and also the 5 Grosse Points. And what we've tried to do is we tried to really build an infrastructure of home and community-based services that will address the needs of individuals from what I'll say as far as a full continuum of care. Now, when I say a full continuum of care, what I'm speaking of is that if you're an active senior and you can still dribble a basketball, run up and down the court, participate in the Senior Olympics, we got service for you. If you are an individual that happens to be homebound and you need in-home services, we have aids and personal care services and chore activities in which we can render services to you. If you happen to be in the need for legal assistance, we got you covered. If you happen to be in the need of what I'll say nutritional or transportation services, we have those, or we provide that also. And the way and the manner and the service, or the depths and the width of the services in which we provide is very great. And so we try to provide services for that whatever may fit the life conditions of an individual. We try to have something in place for that family or for that person. And we do this by partnering with over 130 community-based organizations. And those community-based organizations, some of you may know them very well, like the St. Patrick Senior Center, LaSed, Northeast or Neighbor NSO. And we also work with a number of home health agencies to deliver those services. But what, we probably reach about 90,000 individuals. But within our service area, the 9 communities in which I alluded to, there's approximately 150,000 individuals that are above the age of 60. And our catchment area, as far as the services who we provide services to, is representative of approximately 74% of individuals that are African Americans, and 22% that are Caucasian, and 2% Latino, and then about 1 in 5 of our community resides, or the individuals in which we provide services to, live in poverty. And and one of the greatest what I'll say facts that I like to share is that many of you may know Detroit, the DAAA, or the Detroit Area Agency on Aging, by the study, or the groundbreaking study in which we've commissioned, is called Dying Before Their Times. And essentially the Dying Before Their Time reports outlined or illustrated that our population, or our constituents, that they are lacking in regards to healthcare or access to healthcare. And then also, and the biggest factor that came forward is that many of them are, or 89%, or approximately 135,000 individuals in our community, they're currently residing with 3 or more chronic illnesses. And so those chronic illnesses could be hypertension, stroke, heart disease, diabetes, and Alzheimer's or dementia is also one of those chronic illnesses. And so, when you take a look at that, there's a great deal of needs as far as from a healthcare perspective that our population needs. And so one of the things in which we want to do is we want to try to fill that gap, or to help individuals access services and provide. Also, we want to do things, and not just from a treatment perspective, but also from a preventative perspective. So we do things around health promotion, and then we also try to get into where we really work with our community wellness centers and provide evidence-based programs. And as Ms. Whitmore Davis alluded to, we truly believe that nutrition is the backbone of a healthy lifestyle. So we do focus a lot of activities and services around Meals on Wheels and our congregate nutritional programs. But we're also trying to really do a great deal in regards to the space of caregivers and our work with caregivers, and how can we support and provide training and also education to our caregivers. And so we're really we're really looking at that. Other services in which we provide are like the adult day services, senior employment programs, vision services. We also get into with nursing homes as far as ombudsman programs. So if you have a loved one that's in a nursing home that may need some advocacy, we have a long-term care ombudsman that can help in that manner. But in closing, what I just really like to say as far as within our network, as far as being 40 years in this community, we're just very appreciative and very thankful that we've been able to build a network that is tested. And when I say tested, we've been through many storms, we've been through many trials, and we've come out on the other end standing as is related to being advocates for our population and our community. One of the things I'll say is that we're authentic and we're trusted. If you need us, you can come to us. And as Commissioner Bell alluded to, we are going to be there to be your servants. And we are going to make certain that we try to respond to address your concerns and address your needs. And we're also, what I'll say is we're unique. And we're very unique in regards to the fact is that continuum of services or those continuum of providers or the continuum of resources that we have at our I'm not going to say disposal because we don't want to waste them, but that we have to provide to the community is probably unknown. And I like to say that we're probably one of the greatest kept secrets, but we like to encourage individuals to reach out and call us if you need services. And I won't let Ms. Whitmore Davis be the only one to plug or to provide a telephone number and an email address. So if you want to reach us, you can reach us at 313-446-4444. And I like that jingle. I like the way that sounds. So I'm gonna say it one more time. It's 313-446-4444. And you can also reach us on our website as far as www.detroitsenior.solutions.org. And again, thank you so much, Commissioner Bell.
Thank you so much. Just a wealth of information. Again, I wanted to start the program out with, the general senior services. You may not need Alzheimer's and dementia issues, but you may want a place where your loved one can go and do exercises, or you may need information about Meals on Wheels. So I wanted to make sure that I provided an opportunity for both of our agencies that service the seniors in the totality of Wayne County to come on and talk about what they provide, and then have that connection. If you don't mind, Mr. Taylor, if you can also put that information in the chat, and so then people can write it down, your website and the phone number, because you provide so many different things that people just need, especially having an aging population. I'll go ahead and say that in the city of Detroit, we have an aging population here, so your services are needed now more than ever. And if you're outside Detroit, Wayne County Senior Services Department, we're here to serve you as well. So thank you so much, Mr. Taylor. And right now, like I said, we're going to jump into our focus here, which is Alzheimer's and dementia and information and help for caregivers as well. So I'd like to start off by introducing Miss Lisa Dedden. Did I say that correctly, Lisa? Lisa Dedden Cooper. She serves as Manager of Advocacy for AARP. And I'm in that AARP club. I'm glad to be there because you get a lot of discounts. Which the AARP of Michigan is a nonpartisan 501c4 organization with approximately 1.3 million members in Michigan. In that role, she provides strategic leadership and direction for AARP's state and federal legislative advocacy work in Michigan. She is passionate about dementia and family caregiving. She was a caregiver of her father, who unfortunately passed away due to complications with dementia in 2018. But she's also such an advocate and such a wealth of information. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa Dedden Cooper. And thank you so much for being here with AARP. We appreciate that. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman Bell, for those kind words and for hosting tonight's event. And as you said, these issues are near and dear to my heart. And I'm delighted to be part of this esteemed panel. It's got old friends and new friends. And I'm glad that all of you are joining us tonight for this important discussion. And, you know, I am actually going to skip ahead to the end of my remarks just for a moment and tell you what I hope that we'll leave you with tonight. First of all, I hope that you will leave tonight's town hall with a feeling of hope. And second, I want you to leave with information that can help empower you for yourself and your friends and your families. And that might surprise you, but that's why I'm glad that you are here tonight. As Chairwoman Bell noted, I work for AARP, which you probably know is an organization that advocates for people who are age 50 and over. And AARP is involved in this subject in dementia and brain health because it's on the minds of so many of our members in Michigan and across the country. And I don't know if you know this, but AARP's purpose, our organizational purpose, is to empower people to choose how they live as they age. And no one chooses to have dementia, of course, but we can help people to choose to live healthier lives, like Mr. Taylor mentioned. And we can help empower families with knowledge and resources so they can live better with dementia than so often happens now. And so that's why AARP is committed to bringing information and resources to more people, more families on this issue. Now, you might not know this, but the CEO of AARP nationally is Ms. Joanne Jenkins. And this issue is a priority for her, and she has made brain health a priority for AARP. And as part of that, in 2019, AARP actually donated $60 million to the Dementia Discovery Fund, which is an international venture capital fund that is dedicated to funding breakthrough treatments for Alzheimer's and other dementias. And just last month, I was really excited about this. AARP has a new book that's just come out by Dr. Sanjay Gupta. It's called Keep Sharp. And that is also part of our focus at AARP on empowering people to maintain their brain health as they age. But I do want to take a step back for a minute and share a few things with you that you may or may not know about dementia. So first of all, what is it? Well, it's not actually a single disease. Dementia is not actually a single disease. It's a general term that describes the loss of cognitive and behavioral function in an adult that's serious enough that it interferes with the person's daily life and their daily activities. And what cognitive means is their thinking skills and memory, problem-solving skills, that sort of thing. So Alzheimer's disease is one type of dementia, and it's the most common one. It's the one we tend to hear about the most. And it accounts for about 60 to 80% of the overall cases of dementia that are diagnosed. And you probably know what the hallmark symptom of Alzheimer's is, right? I guess everybody's on mute, so we can't do the interactive thing. But memory loss. That's when you hear about Alzheimer's, that's what we tend to hear about. That's what people tend to talk about, memory loss. One of the most common signs of Alzheimer's disease, especially in the early stages, is forgetting recently learned information. So a person living with Alzheimer's disease may put things in unusual places. They may lose things and be unable to retrace their steps to find them again. You may also find, if you have friends and family with Alzheimer's, you may find that they will ask the same questions over and over again, or repeat the same stories over and over again. Now, other types of dementia include vascular dementia, dementia with Lewy bodies, frontotemporal dementia, Huntington's disease, Parkinson's disease, And the type of dementia that was portrayed in that Will Smith movie called Concussion, that type of dementia is CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy. So CTE is a type of dementia that we'll tend to see in people who were athletes or maybe military veterans, people who sustained traumatic injury to their brains. But kind of talking about some of the other types here and what symptoms are, what you would expect. Vascular dementia, I don't know if you've heard of that term, but vascular dementia is actually the second most common type of dementia overall. And it's particularly common in African Americans. So vascular dementia is a decline again in your thinking skills, and it's caused by conditions that block or reduce the blood flow to various regions of the brain. So it deprives them of oxygen and nutrients. And in vascular dementia, these changes in thinking skills will often happen, or sometimes at least happen suddenly after a stroke. A stroke, will block major blood vessels in the brain. But the thinking difficulties that come along with vascular dementia may also begin as mild changes that gradually worsen as a result of multiple minor strokes or another condition that affects smaller blood vessels, leading to widespread damage. So that's Alzheimer's disease, one type of dementia, and vascular dementia, another type. Another type that you may come across or that you've heard of or may have friends or family members with is called dementia with Lewy bodies, L-E-W-Y, Lewy bodies. And people with dementia with Lewy bodies have some of the symptoms that are common in Alzheimer's disease, but they're also more likely to have initial or early symptoms of sleep disturbances or visual hallucinations and what they call visual spatial impairment. Lewy bodies disease is the type of dementia that Robin Williams had. And since his death in 2014, his wife has written about this. I don't know if you've seen any of that, but very poignant story of his life that she tells in his journey with dementia with Lewy bodies disease. And then frontotemporal dementia is actually the most common type of dementia in people younger than 60 years old. And typically the early symptoms of frontotemporal dementia are going to be notable changes in the person's personality and behavior, or it could be difficulty with producing or comprehending language. So this is the kind of dementia that Chairwoman Bell mentioned that I learned about because my dad had it. And it led to him exhibiting some very upsetting and inappropriate behaviors that included, to all our family's horror, these inappropriate sexual comments and behaviors. Now, a couple of things that everybody should know about dementia overall. And I don't know if you know this, but first of all, it's not a normal part of aging. Dementia is caused by diseases or damage to the brain. And then second, dementia is not just about memory loss. The specific mental or physical symptoms that somebody with dementia will have are going to depend on what parts of the brain that are damaged and the disease that's causing the dementia. So based on what part or parts of the brain experience the deterioration, the behavioral changes that a person with dementia will experience will be very different. Not everyone with dementia has a particular problem with memory loss. And in any case, dementia is about more things than memory loss. So each of those different types of dementia that I mentioned have different symptoms and cause different problems. As I mentioned, some people will have problems with language. They may have trouble remembering words, or if you are looking and talking with them, it's like they're having trouble. They're forming maybe the word in their head, but then it's like they can't get it to travel out their mouth. Or they might have problems with problem solving or concentration. And then many people with dementia, especially in the later stages, will have problems with balance and gait, how they walk, and they will experience falls. And falls are actually the leading cause of hospitalization for people living with dementia. And then, as I mentioned, for some people, not just with frontotemporal, but some people with dementia will have their behaviors become like socially inappropriate. A friend of mine whose husband developed vascular dementia, at first, she and everyone else just thought he was just becoming such a jerk. And over time, they came to realize that he had this going on in his brain. But that kind of stuff, again, other than just memory loss, are things that you want to be aware of as things that could be symptoms of an underlying issue in the brain, an underlying dementia. And now, as I said earlier, dementia is not a normal part of aging, not a normal part of aging. And the vast majority of older adults do not have dementia, and most will never develop it. But the older you get, the likelihood that you'll end up with dementia does increase. So even though the majority of older adults don't have dementia and don't develop dementia, of those people who do have dementia, about 80% of them are people who are 75 and older. And I mentioned that vascular dementia is common among African American people. But it's also important to note that overall, older African Americans are actually about twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's or vascular or another type of dementia compared to the white population. So what can you do if you suspect that you or a loved one has some sort of dementia? So first of all, talk to a doctor, talk to your doctor. You can ask about a simple test that your doctor can give you to help identify the presence of cognitive impairment. Then, if need be, you can meet with a neurologist and they can give you a series of additional tests, some diagnostic testing to assess your thinking and your strength and your coordination and reflexes and more. And this is important. And it's important that we're here tonight talking about this because I know people will sometimes ask, well, why would I even want to get a diagnosis? Like if there's no cure, you might think I just would rather not know. Or maybe I don't want to lose my freedom. I don't want to lose my dignity if people find this out, that I have this going on in my brain. But you need to know that, for one thing, new treatments are being developed even as we speak. And there may be treatments or clinical research trials that you might want to get involved with for you or your family members. For example, speech and cognitive therapy have been shown to help people who learn about their dementia early on. And I've actually personally met people who've benefited greatly from that in life-changing ways. And then right here in Michigan, there's a lot of exciting research that's going on. It's being conducted by researchers at University of Michigan and Wayne State University and Michigan State University and the Michigan Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, which is one of 32 dementia research centers at major medical institutions around the country that are funded by National Institute on Aging. But I believe that whether there's a cure on the horizon or not, knowledge is power. And early diagnosis allows the patient and the families time to adjust and make plans for how their lives are going to be different. So time to help preserve or repair family relationships, to make informed decisions related to things like housing and transportation and finances, and really time to recalibrate and reimagine your lives moving forward. One of the resources that I want to make sure that you have access to, and I'll put some links in the chat as well, But we've got a new AARP Michigan Dementia Resource Guide for families, and it looks like this. And it includes information about how to connect with organizations that are specific to these different types of dementia that I mentioned, and other information that you and your family may find helpful. We've got that on our website for aarp.org/MI-dementia, DEMENTIA, but I'll put that in the chat. And I want to leave you with this thought. So too often, our culture tends to think of dementia as a death sentence. There's this, what I consider a tragedy narrative that surrounds it. Or maybe it's something to be ashamed of, people will feel. But what it is a chronic disease that people are likely to live with for many years. And we will do better for ourselves and our families and all of the other folks in our community if we can start to think about that way. Because when we just think about how we're going to die from this or something else and not how we're going to live, we miss out on opportunities for people to continue to live well, to continue to live with joy and purpose, or at least to live better than so many people with dementia do now. And this brings me to the other hopeful point that I want to leave you with. So there have been a lot of advances, tremendous advances in brain science in the past 10 years or so. And the science now tells us that regardless of our age, there are things that we can do to reduce the chance of age-related diseases and optimize our chance of maintaining our brain health. Regardless of our age, and this is one of the pieces of the science that's new, our brain is constantly changing and making new nerve cells. So AARP's Global Council on Brain Health has compiled the latest research on this, and this is another link I'm going to put in the chat, aarp.org/brain health. But the overall message is that you should pay special attention to a healthy diet, like Ms. Whitmore Davis and Mr. Taylor were talking about with the nutrition programs. Pay special attention to having a healthy diet, getting enough good quality sleep, which is my big thing. That's been a thing that I've chosen to choose in my life that I will do better at. And to stay mentally, socially, and physically active. Regardless of your age, there are things that you can do. You don't have to feel powerless. Just start with small steps and try to do something every day. So what do you think? Again, I can't hear your answers, I guess, but I hope I was able to deliver on my two promises to you, to provide what I hope is at least a glimmer of hope and to offer you this basic information to help empower you with regard to your and your loved ones' brain health now and for the future. So thank you again, and I'm going to turn it back to Chairwoman Bell.
Thank you so much. That was awesome information. And I'm glad that you broke it down as to its brain health and what it means and, you know, how you can go about helping it by exercise, by dieting, and how you can just work on your brain health. That's just like you work on your physical health. It's also important to note that, you know, sometimes people are ashamed. I think like with a lot of mental illnesses, I won't say this is a mental illness, but with a lot of things, people are ashamed to talk about it. They're ashamed to admit it. And I would say there's nothing to be ashamed about. Just know that it is a disease like hypertension, like diabetes, like other things. And you have to know so you can know how to treat it so that you can live a good life with dignity and address it. And I think that's so important for our caregivers to know too, that, you know, it's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, helping your loved one is an extreme act of loving that person and just making sure you're there with them. So you will get great information, and please put those details in the chat. And I know the persons who are on the line have a lot of great questions. So we're going to go to our next presenter. And after that, we're going to open up for questions because I know there's a lot to unpack. It's a lot to, you know, really dissolve, but we're going to make that happen. And right now, I'm so proud as we talk about caregivers to introduce Dr. Paula Duren, Director of Universal Dementia Caregivers. Based on her extensive career, leadership experience, and the in-depth care that she gave to her parents, Dr. Duren developed a positive psychological approach to caregiving that honors both the care recipient and the caregiver. Dr. Duren developed this comprehensive program at the same time and created a 501c3 to share her knowledge with our broader community. So she's been there just like Lisa, walking the walk, talking the talk. She has knowledge that she wants to help our caregivers know, what it is, how to maneuver, not losing that hope for both the patient and the caregiver. So Dr. Duren, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Bell, and I appreciate the invitation to be here today. I want to start by celebrating the caregivers on this call. Yes. You have gone for the last year with a pandemic. Mm-hmm. You were a caregiver. You were protecting the home. You were trying to stay healthy. You've been isolated. Folks you wanted to come in couldn't. So if there's any way, let's give everybody a public applause. You have done such great work. And we want you to know we recognize and appreciate just that gift. Because I know how alone it feels being in the house normally as a caregiver. Now I'm in the house with a pandemic, and then I'm supposed to keep the house safe at the same time. So thank you for the gifts that you've given us. And as a former caregiver, I committed myself to caring for caregivers. If I said what I do for as a nonprofit, we care for caregivers, because there's a lot of people that will care for our love recipient. But who really is thinking about you? But in the last few years, we're seeing more and more programs presented that are focused on the caregiver. And so that's what we do. So caregiving changes your life. And if we've got caregivers on this line, which I'm sure we do, you need to do some thumbs ups as I talk about some of this stuff. Because what we focus on is caring for not only the body, because a lot of people care for the body. We want to care for you in terms of your heart, your spirit, being able to express yourself, and teaching you skills that will help you support the hearts of your loved ones, because they're still inside. No matter what people think, no matter how they're not communicating, but they are communicating and you just don't know it yet. So they're trying to talk to us all the time in all these different ways. So what we focus on is teaching you how to care for you and care for them and their hearts as they move through this journey. It's a journey. As Lisa said, it's a progressive disease, and the disease starts at one point and it ends at another. My mom died from Alzheimer's. She forgot how to swallow. My father died from vascular, and Lisa gave a great description. It's huge in our community because diabetes is huge in our community, because high blood pressure is high in our community, things that we can control. And I hear me saying that in my head, but I know it's tough, but we can control that stuff through all these educational programs and learning and being honest with ourselves. So that's what we do. And I normally show a picture of my mom and dad. So have this image in your mind of these hearts with my mom and dad's picture in it. And it says, this is why I do this work, because it changes your life. And it is an act of love. Many of our family caregivers are not being paid. You're not doing this work because somebody said, girl, I got $100,000 a year for you if you take care of your parents. And I want you to know you're probably giving more of your money into the family than they are giving to you, because your life is impacted in so many ways. And it's a major life change, major life change. And just a question, I always ask this, how many of you actually went to school to become a caregiver? And what normally the answer I get is, I didn't. Often at times it's a woman. It's often someone who is most available, and everybody says, it makes sense that you do it. Or it's an item related to, you don't appear to be very obligated, you don't have much to do, so maybe you could do it. Or it's an issue of duty, or just that basic love that you have for caring for your loved one. And what we found is most caregivers don't call themselves caregivers. I'm just doing this, I'm just helping out. But at some point when you finally accept you are a caregiver, you recognize you're doing some great work in the process. So as caregivers, our lives are impacted dramatically and our roles are changing. And in those role changes, we talk about some of us, the biggest role that I see for many caregivers having trouble with is now I'm taking care of the person who took care of me. And I don't want to be, I can't tell my mother what to do. I'm going to tell her what to do. That's my mother. I'm being disrespectful. And even when I tell them to lie to them, I say it's called creative fibbing. Anything you can do to help them have a good journey, you do it. And Commissioner Bell, I saw you say, ooh, I'm going to explain why I say that. So in the process, I want you all to know that you're given your lot, the roles are changing. We're working with families now where this one spouse is now, it's a husband. The husband is taking care of his wife, and and what happens, he will leave the room. And by the time he comes back, she doesn't remember him. And she says, there's a man in my house and he's going to hurt me. And imagine how that husband feels after being married 60 years to the same person. This is an act of love. Serving in this regard is a true act of love. So it impacts your finances, because many of you have been working other jobs and you may have to reduce your workload as a result. It impacts your sleep, because I want you to know, it seems like when you decide you're going to sleep, they're going to be up. And when they're up, you know you can't sleep because you need to make sure they're okay. So here we go. We've got sleep issues. And I hate saying this out loud, but I need you to hear this. Many of our caregivers die before the loved one living with dementia. And that's because we don't take care of ourselves and we don't make ourselves a priority. And so if you get nothing out of this conversation, I want you to hear this one word: you matter. You matter. And if nobody told you today you were cool and you were good and you were wonderful and you're a sweetheart and we love you, here it is, coming from Paula, Lisa, Commissioner Bell, Ron, and both Lisas. We're just telling you, you matter because you make the difference in the security, the health, and the well-being of your loved one. So there are major changes in our lives. Well, some things we know about caregivers, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong on this. You've already been given the stat on how many caregivers are out there, but at that 16 million number that Commissioner Bell said are unpaid family caregivers, which is essential. Most caregiving right now is happening in the home because it makes sense. You want to age in place, and that's the trend, because when you have Alzheimer's, some of those familiar things around you help you with your journey. Where if we move them, and which sometimes we have to move them, I say move them with some of their old furniture, move them with the pictures that normally capsulize their room. So then you try to recreate a world for them. Other things we know about caregivers, that oftentimes caregivers are angry. They're also sad. They're sometimes lonely, because being up at 2 o'clock in the morning, feeling like you're the only person in the world dealing with this issue. I tell people all the time, every now and then, know that there are a whole lot of one persons out there. And part of my role and the role of many of these organizations is to help you find each other. And in finding each other, you come to realize there's lots of support and help from people who understand. We've also found that many families, about 76% of them, develop problems or conflicts. And they're conflicts. And so remember now, this is what we know about caregivers. Many of our caregivers are in conflicts with their own families. Well, you know, this is the issue. Who's in charge? Who's going to make decisions? And underneath a whole lot of this, if you have $2 over your burial money, they're also saying who's going to get the money that's left. So we have to be honest on those issues, because 25% of that group never make it to resolve those family issues. And that's really important to know. And the one word I want to say before I transition is that caregivers, by research, says you are the second silent patient. And as the second silent patient, we need to make sure, as has been indicated, that we take care of ourselves. And we're going to give you some ideas about that. Something Lisa said earlier, which I thought was absolutely correct. When a loved one, you believe a loved one has dementia. And one of the things I stress in speaking to people of color, oftentimes we view dementia as a mental illness. And mental illness oftentimes in our communities are not dealt with. We take them to church or we hide them. That's old Uncle Joe in the back room. It's whatever it is. But the bottom line is a brain disease. It is not a mental illness. And if I can stress that enough, that way we don't become shame of it. We don't try to hide it. We make it. I say, if I had cancer, would you put me in the back and hide me there? Imagine it as a brain cancer that's destroying your brain and killing the brain cells such that information can no longer flow. from one side of the brain to the other. So knowing that, that's important. And so if you can do an early diagnosis, we recommend it. The thing that I would say is that you have to be your best advocate, because the research also shows us that African Americans are less likely to be referred to a specialist than compared to other groups of people. So be your best advocate, speak out, ask questions, pursue. When my mother was in the hospital, I would do rounds with the doctors. And they're looking at me like, who is this little person? Somebody who says you're taking care of my mother, and I happen to love her, and I'm going to ensure that she's cared for properly. So what do we know about caregivers? Other things we know about caregivers. And then let's add Alzheimer's, as Lisa said, it is progressive. It's going to start in one place, it's going to end in another. And what happens is that in that journey, some behaviors come out that can be viewed as challenging. And I'm going to put challenging in quotes, only because we may not have learned how to handle them. Here's an example. A family went to dinner and they were having this, and they took dad, and dad started pulling his clothes off at the table. Anybody ever experienced that? You know that happens. So what the family did is they scooped him up so fast, they got him out of that restaurant really quick. They called me the next day, which was a Monday, and said, Doc, can you tell me, did I handle this right? Well, I said, you did what you could do at the moment. So it was right because that's what you knew how to do. But I said, do me a favor. Are dad's clothes anywhere nearby? He said that he had on Sunday. She said, yes. I said, go see if there's a pin in his shirt. Dad had a pin in the back of his shirt that was sticking him, and he didn't know how to tell us in words that something's bothering me. And what he chose to do was pull off his clothes. I am a believer when the challenging behaviors are presented, they are a message that something is wrong, and we need to pay attention to what's underneath the behavior versus the behavior. Lisa talked about inappropriate sexual behavior. Sometimes some people think he's just becoming a dirty old man or a dirty old woman. No, that's not necessarily so. It's important to understand they react to your reaction too. So a lot of the work we do with caregivers and dealing with caregiver strategies, we focus a lot on the caregiver understanding themselves, understanding dementia, and understanding how those behaviors are manifested, because those behaviors oftentimes stress us out. And we created a program called Caregivers Passage Through Dementia. And it's right now being reviewed for evidence-based. So I'm excited that we have a program that's going to fit that criteria very soon. And it's called Flowers. Let me tell you why I call it Flowers. I call it Flowers because the persons that we serve are beautiful, so are flowers. They change every day. Flowers do too. They need a certain kind of nurturing and watering depending on the flower. Person-centered care says you service the person based on their needs, not on a group decision. So they're flowers, personal needs, and they're going to leave us. Flowers are gone at the end of a season. Similarly, we help to prepare caregivers that our loved one, if the dementia continues, they're going to die. And I say it out loud. Other people think it and it's part of the journey, and prepare ourselves and prepare our loved ones in the process. So in this process of training caregivers, we do boot camps. We're doing a lot of online dementia training. We're also doing partnering with the Detroit Area of Aging, doing some dementia training. And Crystal's my partner in crime over there. I want to give a shout out to her. And we're doing all this wonderful stuff to kind of keep caregivers together. Today we did a caregivers caring and sharing session. What's a caring and sharing session? Well, it's caregivers on the phone talking about, my mother didn't remember my name today, and I don't know what to do. If the disease continues, at some point, they're going to forget your name. And most people do like I did initially. As smart as I thought I was, I would say to my dad, I said, Dad, do you remember my name? And that's what we often do. Do you remember my name? My dad looked at me one day and said, don't you know your own name? And I fell out laughing. I realized that was my junk coming out and not his. They know your name. They may not know, have the capacity to put it in words, because the research is telling us the emotional part of the person engages with your spirit, your energy. And do you know your voice has a melody? Some of us talk like this. I encourage you to become softer. Some of us are very soft and engaging in a movement of our voices, and our voices can touch the hearts of our loved one. And so I tell caregivers, be encouraged, because you have more influence than you think. But we often give it away because we're not quite sure what to do at any given moment. And I tell caregivers, it doesn't really matter at any given moment, because what you did yesterday may not work today. And what you did today probably won't work tomorrow. But it's the energy with which you approach this work. You approach it with love, with honor and respect as the foundation, and a willing spirit to learn. And you also make yourself a priority. Every group I do, I ask the caregivers in the room, what did you do for yourself to take care of you today? And many of them are like, I didn't do anything. I said, you didn't give yourself 5 minutes to sit on the back porch? I'm not saying you have to go to the gym. I'm not saying music. Any of those things are good. So in our care strategies and teaching, and some of the things you said are wonderful for us, because one of the care strategies says, don't be ashamed of me. That's a care strategy. Well, Doc, how's that a care strategy? It's a care strategy because I need my caregiver to know and my families to know, if you are ashamed of them, you will treat them a certain way. I heard a very famous person say he's taking care of his wife, and he and his girlfriend are taking care of his wife. And he says, it doesn't really matter what I do because she's not in there anymore. I hope everybody gasps at that. They're in there. They're just needing you to figure out how to touch them on more of an emotional level and a spiritual level, versus me being to say to you what I'm feeling and thinking. So one of the things, my favorite line is, I need you to jump into the dementia journey and walk with me. Walk the journey with me. Be part of the journey with me and understand what's below the surface. Because if I curse you out for the first time, and I want you to know, my mother was a good church lady. I mean, she was that church lady with the big hats and all the stuff we do in church. And she cursed at me for the first time in my life. And as she went on her journey. And I was so tickled, I had never heard it from her. I started laughing all over the room. And guess who started laughing with me? My mom did. Your energy impacts their energy. And you do influence them in so many different ways. So one of the things I do in my training sessions, I ask caregivers, what would you tell another caregiver as a piece of advice? So I'm going to give you all some advice that caregivers gave to me. First, I told you already, accept that you're a caregiver. Stop fighting it. And if you're not a caregiver, continue to do what gifts you're giving. But I am a caregiver. Understand the disease. It's important to understand the disease. And in understanding disease, you know on some levels what to expect, even though it's not necessarily going to go exactly that way, but you have some appreciation for what to expect. Pull your legal documents together. Many people don't have wills, they don't have powers of attorney, they don't have trust. You need some paper that gives you the authority to talk on behalf of your loved one. And that's essential, because you try to go to Social Security and say something about my Social Security check and you're taking care of me, they won't even speak to you. Now, some of you have your names on the checks at the bank, and so you can write bills. I didn't say that was the best way to do it, but that's what we've done. I encourage you to get the paper in place while they have capacity. And if they don't have capacity, please know they still might have capacity, because on any given day, in the morning, they might be solid as a rock. And in the evening, they might be very distorted. So it depends on the timing. So get the paper in place. Understand that your self-management is key. If you are stressed, you need to leave the room for a moment. And you need to come down. You need to breathe. You need to become mindful of peace. You need to do the things necessary, because what you do, you can incite them because of the energy that you bring into the room. Know your signs of stress so that before you become stressed, you can stop and manage it before you get there. One of my key words is simply be present. It is so important that we slow down enough in our lives to just simply be present. Well, Doc, I'm not doing anything. Yes, you are. Simply be present. What a gift you're giving to someone to be in a space and all you're doing is breathing together. And I hear caregivers saying, but I got dishes to wash. They'll wait. I have clothes to wash. They were dirty yesterday. Why are you pretending? So it's one of those issues where you have to deal with understanding that you cannot do everything every day and set realistic expectations for yourself. Because I want you to know, caregivers believe they can do everything. And I believe you can too, but I want you to stay healthy in the process of doing everything. Find supports. There are people, services, groups, as AARP and other groups in Detroit area aging, and other groups, Alzheimer's Association. There are wonderful groups around to provide support. Find a support group of people you trust. It's important to trust them so that you can be open and actually share what you're feeling without other people judging you. I'm doing a session next week. It's called Silencing the Internal Critic. Well, because we're real bad on ourselves. We can't do enough ourselves. You can slow down enough. Find people who are interested in you. You need to know that there might be a point in time when your loved one may start seeing things. And they come into the room and they're having a conversation with someone, but nobody's there. And in the process of having that conversation, please don't do this. Ma, who you talking to? Ain't nobody there? Well, the way you handle that is the way I do, and I encourage, go in and say, what's going on? Miss Johnson is sitting right here. Is she? How's she doing? All I did was validate what she was experiencing. And then I said, what are you all talking about? Because that gives me some feel for how they're doing emotionally. That's why I say look past the behavior and look at what's underneath the behavior so we can better understand how they're feeling. I could go on and on, Commissioner. I don't know how much more time I have. There are a few more. I'd like you to listen versus reacting. And if you'd like, I can send to you this one pager of all the things that caregivers said to me that we need to try, their advice on how to manage. But caregivers, in my end of this conversation, I need to say to you that you are really important. You are so important, and I know you don't feel like it. I know there are days you wonder if anyone appreciates you, and especially when that sister comes over and asks you, has mom had breakfast? And mom says no, and you know they had breakfast because you just fed them, and then they become your worst critic, and you get upset and you don't want to do, well, there's strategies for handling. Put the schedule on the refrigerator. Tell your sister, feel free to come over. This is the schedule we follow. Just kind of allowing yourself to breathe, because people who aren't there every day don't see what you see or experience what you see. One last story before I let you go. There's a family we supported. The husband was becoming violent, and the mom was starting to become afraid of him. And she had two stepchildren. And the girls were angry that stepmom wasn't taking care of dad the way he was supposed to be taking care of dad, giving her grief. And they called us in and asked if we would mediate a discussion. And what we recommended is that the girls keep dad for a week. At the end of the week, the girls came back and apologized to their stepmother because they never saw the challenges that were in front of her. Please know that you make such a difference. You are important. And I can't stress enough, take care of yourself. And more than that, get some activity in your life, some nutritious food. And I'm not saying you just have to eat everything healthy, because as soon as I say diet, I get hungry. So I want to make sure that you're not putting yourself into a deficit mode, but please take care of yourself. And feel free to contact us. We're at Universal Dementia Caregivers. I'll put it in here. And we'll have our contact information, and I'll stop so we can open this up for questions. Commissioner?
Thank you so much. That was absolutely awesome. Great information. I mean, oh my God, I think I hit the jackpot with the talent and who was here. Everybody's clapping. That was wonderful. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Paula. Absolutely wonderful. And yes, I do want to open it up for questions because we have about 15 minutes left, and I want to make sure that the people who are on the line have questions for you. And now, how's the best way to do this? Let's say if you can raise your hand, and we'll see if we can do it that way first. If you have the hand raise feature on your Zoom, go ahead and raise your hand, and Octavia will unmute you. Any questions for our Zoom? Just go ahead and raise your hand. If not, anyone on the telephone have a question? Okay, go ahead, Ms. Scott, and unmute yourself. Octavia, unmute everybody if you don't mind. And then, okay, there you go, Ms. Scott, go ahead.
Okay, my question is services about Detroit area Agency of Area of Aging. What kind of services do they provide?
Okay, Mr. Taylor, you want to handle that one? And then also, Ms. Scott, we have some information in the chat about their phone number, but go ahead, Mr. Taylor, if you're gonna just run down some of them. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, the services which we provide, as what I'll say, Ms. Scott, is very vast, and so we do provide services for active and mobile individuals, and then also we provide services in regards to those that may be homebound, but then also there's a range of supportive services such as nutrition, transportation, legal services, just to give you a quick, real glimpse as related to some of the services, we provide adult day services, caregiver education, chore, transportation, socialization, meals, counseling. We also work with the deaf and hearing and elder abuse prevention, home repair. We do provide home delivered meals, homemaker, legal assistance, ombudsman service, help with medical equipment and supplies, emergency transportation, outreach and assistance, work with or support around personal emergency response systems, employment services, telehealth, and also like vision services. So that's kind of a quick snapshot of some of the services in which we do provide.
But what about your home repair service? Who would I contact about that information?
Okay, you can contact us at 313-446-4444. And
Okay.
the person that oversees the program or is our specialist is Rick Spivey. And
say that again.
Is Rick Spivey, S-P-I-V-E-Y. And what I will say is I will qualify that in regards with the home repair is probably very limited in regards to the scope and the amount of funds in which we can devote to it. But if you give us a call, we can see what we can do for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Yes, Ms. Dickerson, how are you?
Hi. I have a friend who is coming down with Alzheimer's. She will not let anybody else help take care of her but me. And she have started seeing like a horse on the wall. Her son, she fights him every step of the way for whatever he want to do. So I'm going between him and her. Never had to take care of anybody like this. So I go over there because she don't want anybody else to come in to help take care of her. It's just me or him. And she don't want really, she don't agree with anything he do. She called him lazy, everything. But I go over, she's okay. I call, and when I don't go over, I'm on the phone with her at least, about an hour or two. And then she'll forget that I even called her. And sometimes she'll think I already had called her, and I really want to take her somewhere. I took her to a store. Well, I do take her to a store because if I don't take her out now that the weather is breaking, she don't go out anywhere. So, and I go over there and we'll sit, and she said, well, we can have lunch. So we'll have lunch, but she's at the stage where she really don't remember a lot. But how do you get someone like her to allow somebody else to come in the house and check on her? Because she's fighting everybody. She says she don't know these people. So
yeah. Dr. Duren or Lisa, whoever would like to grab that question.
I can start if you want, Lisa, and you can follow up. This, as I listen to what stage it sounds like she might be in, this is really tough, especially when they don't yet recognize that they have some type of issue or memory problems. Because at this point, in their mind, you're the problem because I don't have a problem. Not you, but the environment or the situation. I would start, personally, I would talk to the son, of which I know she doesn't want to be bothered with him at this point, but the son needs to start thinking about how she will be taken care of. What documents does he need to get supported? Gradually having conversations with her and reinforcing, you can be reinforcing that slightly, but not insisting, because being ready for the conversation is really important. At Wayne State's Institute of Gerontology, they have a program that will assist you with the how you have difficult conversations, and a conversation is free. Get some training on how to have it, because the ongoing thing is, I'm not at a place where I understand where I am. You can start gradually doing that. You could even consider offering to take her to the doctor if you're willing to do that. That's why I meant, but some of us are caregivers, Ms. Dickerson, and don't even know we're caregivers yet. So that was where I'd start, Lisa. Would you add anything?
I think that was wonderful, and you covered it. The only thing that I might add, and part of this is a question, and I should have looked this up first, but at DAAA, do you guys offer the Creating Confident Caregivers training? Because that is something that I think if anybody is in a situation now where you are a caregiver for a person with dementia, if you can get into that training, those are offered, they're free again, and they provide a number of, like, it's a series of classes, but it provides you a number of, it's training like a number of skills to help deal with situations that come up like that, but then other things, even, other things that you need to learn, like about incontinence and other issues that you may never thought about before. But those types of trainings are available. People don't know about them generally, but if you look up with your AAA, if you look up Creating Confident Caregivers on the state website as well for the adult aging and adult services agency, they also have links to some of those.
Let me add to what Lisa said. Ms. Dickerson, I would recommend she see her physician first, because there are a number of things that look like dementia, but they're not. So it may have the appearance of dementia, and it could be a urinary tract infection. It could be a vitamin deficiency. It could be 4 or 5 other things. So I think I would start with my own physician, and maybe you can encourage her to go to the doctor just to check on her overall health, and then mention to the doctor, if you get to stay with her, that she's starting to show symptoms of X. Eliminate stuff before you label it.
Okay. She do see a doctor, but just a regular doctor.
I would start there. I would start right with my regular doctor. Help me know if there are any conditions in my body that might be causing, or medications I'm on that might cause me to be behaving in this manner. That's where I'd start.
You know what? The doctor told her that yes, you're forgetting things, and that's it. He didn't do anything.
And see, that is not uncommon with primary care doctors, because many of them are not necessarily your specialists to be able to give you the necessary information of next steps. So part of me would send her back, ask her to go back and pursue questions on, and now what do I do? It's happening, it's getting worse.
And we'll have some information in the chat, Ms. Dickerson. You can always call my office for details and phone numbers for that. But that's good question. Very good question. Thank you. Any additional questions? We have about 5 minutes left. Any additional questions from anyone? Did I see a hand? Sonia Johnson, did you have a question? And I don't know if you could unmute everyone for a moment, Octavia. Okay,
no, I lowered my hand.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll put some answers to questions in the chat too. So anybody who can look at chat, or maybe when you have this up online after.
Okay.
Some answers.
I'm looking to see if I see any questions here. It says, Lisa Cooper, repeat the name of the training again.
Yep. Creating Confident Caregivers. And I will also, I'm going to find you a link about that, and I'll put that in the chat box too.
Yes, and I would say we do provide that training at the Detroit Area Agency on Aging. And there's also another program that we offer. It's called T-Care, and in which we actually provide assessments for caregivers to help get them linked up with appropriate resources.
Great. And the question was, is there a specialty dementia center anywhere in the Detroit area?
I don't know in the Detroit area. Someone else might. I know there are areas, but I don't know specifically in Detroit.
Okay. All right. I'm just going down a lot of questions. I'm just trying to pick out a couple here.
I have a quick question. Can
Sure,
you hear
go ahead.
me?
Yes, go ahead.
Are there medications that slow the progression of the disease? Because I took care of my mom and she died at 85, but she took Aricept and it seemed to have helped her. So are there any other medications? Because I have an aunt now who might be in the early stages, and if there's something that can slow down the process, I was just wondering if there might be something new, or do they work?
So
Either,
Lisa,
Lisa.
I can start with this, perhaps. So there are like some of the science reports and things like that. I've got some information, again, I can put in the chat, and also in Dr. Sanjay Gupta's book, there's information about that. I think overall the sense is the drugs that are out there now aren't a cure, and there's some major ones that people do take, but there's still there are those names of the three that somebody just put in the chat: Aricept, Namenda, Prevagen. It's like a supplement, but there are going on right now a number of trials on new and proposed drugs. And my sense of this, and maybe Dr. Duren can share on this as well, is that there's really not something that's considered a drug that works. And the issue of supplements actually is become a pet peeve of mine, because I see the advertisements for Prevagen on TV like over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And what Dr. Sanjay Gupta says in the Global Council on Brain Health says is, instead of spending your money on supplements that haven't been shown to have the preventative or the curative effect, he says spend that money on a good pair of running shoes. Take care of yourself as far as, spend that money on buying fresh produce, things like that, because we do know that there are preventive things that you can do separate from drugs that make sense, and that we all should be doing, whether we got a diagnosis or not. We all should be doing these things: eating better, exercising, sleeping. But I wanted to make a little plug here, and I can try to put this in the chat too. I am part of a statewide coalition, the Michigan Dementia Coalition, and we've been around for a few years. We're really this big grassroots organization. Dr. Duren's now part of it, and we consider we're powered by passion, but it's people in different fields and work that's related to dementia across Michigan. We got about 200 people on the list now, but we have meetings every 4 months. And the one that we have coming up on April 9, we are going to have a report from one of the women who works in research in pharmacy through the Michigan Alzheimer's Disease Center. And she's going to talk with us about some of the new drugs that are out there, things that are in the pipeline. And that would be, if you are interested in diving into that, that's going to be, again, that's a Zoom meeting coming up on April 9, and you are welcome to participate in that, as well. But not an easy question on it. There's not a pill, there's not a drug or treatment right now that we say we got it.
I think that
You can put that in the chat. That would be helpful about that meeting. That would be helpful. And before you go, Dr. Duren, I just want to take Holly's iPhone question really quick, because we have about 3 more minutes. If you could unmute Holly's iPhone, go ahead.
Yes. I just wanted to know, was there a specialty facility dealing with dementia, even though it's not in Detroit, but where are some of the locations that we could check
And
out?
do you mean a hospital, or do you mean a facility where they could live?
No, a facility where they do the diagnosis. I know that you said go to your regular
Doctor?
physician, but is there a specialty center where they deal with this directly?
Okay. And that's a good question. Like, does like the DMC or is there just an actual specialty place other than your hospital systems that either of you know about?
On the 5th. I know various physicians, mainly the ones I'm aware of, most of them are in Ann Arbor, but also the hospitals. Some of the hospitals have specialists that can do an assessment for you. As I said, you usually have to have a referral, so you have to start with your primary. And as I say, you may have to insist on a referral. I am not aware of any just organization that's what they just do, unless they're doing research. Now, there are lots of places that are doing research and you can have assessments done. And I think people of color, oftentimes, we have not been the biggest advocates of research anyway. I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing, but I think that you have to start the primary, get referrals. There are specialists in this area that I have been referred to, and I refer people to have assessments done.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, you know, it is 7:28, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We were supposed to go from 6 to 7, but this was such great information and so informative. And Dr. Duren and Lisa Dedden Cooper, you all are a breath of knowledge and wisdom. And this is such an important topic. Like I said, we could have a part 2, a part 3 on this because there's so much more to dive into. But I just want to thank you all so very much. This was awesome. And I think so many people, and I could be wrong, but I think it's one of those things that people don't like to talk about. They're shy about it. They're quiet about it. It's happening in their households, but they don't want to speak to it because they're ashamed. So I think it's important just to get the information out, you know, be vocal about your loved one, be an advocate for your loved one. Make sure you're taking care of yourself also if you're a caregiver, because as they say on the plane, you know, give yourself oxygen before you give it to somebody else or the child next to you. So make sure that you're taking care of yourself as a caregiver so that you can give your all to them as well, because they can't do what they need to do if you're not healthy. So I just think this was just so informative. I thank you all so very much. Thank you, Mr. Taylor from DAAA. Lisa Whitmore Davis had to log off. I want to thank her for her dynamic presentation about the services here at Wayne County. Again, I think both Dr. Duren and Lisa, you both put your information in the chat, and I'll have information in my office. I put my phone number in, 224-0936, if anyone wants to get in touch with you all further. But this was absolutely excellent. Oh, there's Lisa, she's back. But this was excellent. If we can give our presenters all a round of applause. Those I know we're all quiet and on mute, but if we can give everyone a round of applause, this was excellent. And if you all think we should do it again, I see a lot of my constituents on the line from District 7. If you all think we should do a follow-up and take a deeper dive, please let me know, and I'm certainly willing to do that. But this was absolutely excellent. And I want to thank you all for taking time out of your Wednesday evening to talk to everyone. I'm sure we all got something out of it. I certainly got something out of it. And I'm going to look at all the resources that you all put in the chat to help guide my journey personally, and then what's going on with other people. So just thank you.
Thank you.
Clap again for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I am Wayne County Commission Chair Alisha Bell. This has been an excellent town hall. We will have more of these. I know we get tired of Zoom, so I try not to do them too often, but if there's an important topic like this, I want to make sure that we're getting information to the residents of Wayne County. So again, I want to thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for the great information. And I'd like to say good night and good evening to everyone. Have a great evening.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.